Hello and welcome to another Miss Alley Can't DIY video. Today I am super excited to show you how I made these 3 DIYs that are super easy to make for a rustic spring Easter look. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. For this DIY, you'll need a plate or some sort of a small tray. I'm using this Frisbee that I just had on hand. I'm pretty sure Dollar Tree has Frisbees, but if not, you can use a plate or a tray like I said. And I just kind of wanted to just make sure that it had a lip on it, so that's what I was looking for when I picked out this Frisbee to use. I'm also using this reindeer moss. You can get this pack at the Dollar Tree. So I used a white acrylic paint and a hunter green acrylic paint. This is completely optional. I just wanted to make sure to cover up my extremely red Frisbee. I went in first with my white acrylic paint and did a dry brushing technique. I did a couple coats of that, and then once that was completely dried, I went in with the hunter green, once again doing a dry brushing technique, and for both the white and the green I made sure to get all over my Frisbee, including the sides, and because it was a very shiny Frisbee, I did part of the bottom because the red was reflecting off and you could still see that it was red. So I just made sure to cover it up completely so you didn't see any of the red. And then I went in with some nautical rope that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I hot glued the nautical rope all the way around the rim of my tray of the Frisbee. So when I reached the end of the rope, I made sure to cut the rope so that it lined up with the end that I started with, just so that it looked a lot nicer and more put together. I ended up only doing one row of the rope completely around the bottom of the rim. So now I'm just going in with some hot glue and my moss, and I'm hot gluing the moss in sections all over the tray. I do avoid the complete center of the tray when it comes to gluing moss, but I'll get to that in a second. I want to really make sure to hot glue the moss so that it goes up and over the edge of the tray, just because I think that looks really pretty and it helps to cover up any of the tray that I don't want showing. And yeah, it just looks like a gorgeous bird's nest, and I think it's perfect for spring, Easter, and all kinds of farmhouse decor. And I did end up not putting any moss in the center because I figured I would put a vase in the center, or I would just have some sort of an object, so there wasn't going to be any need to have any moss there, but you totally could put moss in the center of your tray. And then I'm going to be using this filler. It says fall and autumn, but it's just what I happen to have on hand. I got it in a Michael's $4 grab bag, so this is really cool to be able to use it. You can use whatever you have on hand. This just is what I have. So here are all the items that I'm working with, and I wanted to show you a couple different ways that you can decorate with this tray. I have this tall vase that I got from the Dollar Tree, and these adorable eggs. They're the ones that come in the carton. They look so farmhouse, it's not funny, and they're just so adorable. I've also got these carrots from Dollar Tree. I believe that's 2 packs that I have there. And I have some flowers. These are little white flowers from Dollar Tree. They look like baby's breath to me, but that's not what they're called. I'll put it in the description box below exactly what they are called. So this first idea, I just have 3 of those eggs laying around my tall vase. I decided to put some of that filler underneath the eggs to give it more of a nest type feel. And I also have 3 of those eggs in the tall vase with some of that filler. And then I'm going to go ahead and take some of my little flowers and stick them randomly all the way around my tray, and I put some in the vase as well, just to give it some added cuteness. So without going into too much detail, because I think you can tell what I've done here, I just wanted to show you these different ways that you can decorate this tray. Also, if you have a little trinket tray, perhaps from Dollar Tree, this one is not from Dollar Tree, it's from my local Kroger store, but it also is super adorable just in the center of this tray. Just wanted to give you a few different ideas. I think this one here is my favorite. And for this next DIY, we're going to make this adorable fence decor piece. So I picked up this adorable gray plastic trellis from the Dollar Tree, of course, and I need to cut it in half. I recommend using really heavy-duty wire cutters. Mine were not quite up to par, so I did end up using a hacksaw. Both methods would work, but like I said, I recommend really heavy-duty wire cutters. So the next thing I did was I took some E6000 glue and I started applying that to 1/2 of my trellis. So when applying the E6000 glue, really focus on the pieces of the plastic that are going to be touching the other trellis once you put them both together. For example, if you just put the glue in the center parts of the trellis, the glue isn't going to touch the other side, and so therefore it's going to come apart. So you really don't need a whole lot of glue, you just want it to be on those parts of the plastic that's going to touch the other side. And I would recommend doing this on both sides of the trellis. Alright, so the next thing you want to do is you want to place both of your trellis halves together, and I would recommend placing a heavy object that is either the size of your trellis or a little bit bigger. You just want it to cover all of your trellis. And I would leave that sitting for at least 24 hours, and if you're worried about any glue seeping out, you can also place a little bit of parchment paper between the heavy object and the trellis. That way it doesn't stick to your object that is holding your trellis down. So if you're wondering how come I'm not showing myself placing an object on my trellis, it's because somehow I didn't have my camera on record when I did that. So that is why. So once my fence was completely dry, I went in with that white acrylic paint that I used earlier, and I'm just doing a dry brushing technique all over my fence. Basically, I just want a nice thin coat over the whole entire thing, and I really make sure to get in all of the nooks and crannies, especially anything that you're going to see when it's standing straight up. I really want this fence to look like it's been outside and it's nice and rustic, because we will be putting some moss on it later. So yeah, I do a good coat everywhere, but it's nice and thin. So I hope that makes sense. There were a lot of little nooks and crannies to get on the fence, so just keep that in mind. I kind of had to stick my brush into the grooves to get the paint everywhere so that it all was a nice coverage. So once I was happy with the coverage that I had with the paint, I did go ahead and let that dry completely, and now I'm going to be using Dollar Tree's Tumbling Tower game. I'm only using 2 blocks, and I'm going to go ahead and place some E6000 on the bottom of both sides of my fence, trying to get it on, once again, the plastic that's going to touch the wood so that it does glue. And I did use a generous amount of glue just because I want it to stick, and we also are going to put moss on there, so if it spills over, you're not going to see it. So then I just took 2 objects to hold my fence up. I just placed them on both sides of my fence, and now I am taking some more E6000 glue and I'm gluing on the blocks on both sides of the fence just for some added support. And once again, we will be putting some moss there, so if it looks a little funky, it's okay because it will be covered. So I wanted to let you know too that I added a third Jenga block with E6000 glue, and I let this whole thing dry at least overnight. I wanted to make sure that it dried completely. And now with some hot glue, I am taking some Dollar Tree reindeer moss, and I'm just gonna go ahead and glue moss in little strips all over my fence. So feel free to get creative with this part. I really tried to think about where moss would actually grow if this fence had been outside for a very long time. So I did put moss on the top of my fence and both sides. And when I did it on the sides, I did it there especially because when we cut our fence in half, not on the side that I'm showing, but on the other side, it kind of left a big gap down the side. So the moss really helps to hide that, and you can't even tell, and it looks so cute in my opinion. So once I was happy with everywhere that I put my moss, I'm now going in with some heavy duty sandpaper. Now if you don't have heavy duty sandpaper, that's totally fine. That's just what I happen to have. I think any grade of sandpaper would probably work just fine for this DIY because I'm doing it fairly lightly. I don't want to take off too much paint. I'm just trying to make it look like this fence really has been outside for a long time. And yeah, so I just went all over my fence with this sandpaper. Not really sure why I'm holding such a gigantic piece of sandpaper, but hey, it worked. So here is how this fence turned out. I just love how rustic it looks, and of course, I love the fact that I got everything from the Dollar Tree. I've never made something quite rustic like this before, so I was very pleased to see the final results for this. So this third and final DIY is so simple, I don't know if I can technically call it a DIY, but for the sake of this video, it's a DIY. So all I did was I took a tall vase from Dollar Tree and I just filled it with some of that filler that I had that I got from a $4 grab bag that I showed earlier, and I also filled it with 3 eggs. I love the number 3 in things, so I put 3 eggs in there, and I scattered some of those little teeny tiny white flowers. The ones I think look like baby's breath, but I will put in the description box below what their actual name at Dollar Tree is. And I think this is so simple, but it turned out really cute and very farmhouse. So here are all 3 of the DIYs together. Just love how this turned out. It's so farmhouse and very rustic, and I love the fact that I can use the different pieces for different times of the year and not just Easter. Thank you so much for watching this video. I had so much fun putting all this together. I hope you all have a wonderfully perfect day, and if you did enjoy this video, please feel free to pounce on that like button and hit subscribe. And if you want to see more from me like this, feel free to click on that notification bell so you can be notified every single time that I upload a new video. Until next time, this is Miss Alley Cat DIY signing off. I will see you later, and thank you so much again for watching. Bye bye.